Andrew Doyle of GB News, who runs the programme Free Speech Nation, blocked me on Twitter, and this video is about that situation of him blocking me and what I actually think of Free Speech Nation, which I will cover in the second half of this video. I mean, I was trying to explain to Andrew that the term racism does not exist, right? I often say that to people, that this word racist is impossible and it doesn't exist. And quite a few people might think to me, like, they might think that I'm basically saying, oh, people don't get abused. I'm not saying that at all. People definitely get bullied because of the colour of their skin, etc., but not under the term racism, which I will now explain. I never swear online, on Twitter. You'll never find any text of me swearing at people, using sexual language, abusing people, and you know, I have been a bit of a nuisance with GB News, copying them in and trying to get my message across, but I never swear or abuse people. So what sparked the debate on racism? Right, so I basically copied Andrew in, and basically I copied Andrew Doyle into a tweet regarding Alison Chabloz. Now, Alison Chabloz has been put in prison 3 times now for literally singing a satirical song, and I was basically saying to Andrew Doyle, you know, why are you not fighting for her case? I mean, you should have a whole show about her, basically, because what has happened to her, she did not incite violence to anyone, she didn't threaten anyone. Andrew Doyle tried to say that they had discussed it, and I don't believe you did, Andrew. You said you was going to send me the footage, you didn't. And you probably discussed it in headliners maybe, and said, oh, this woman has been put in prison for 3 times for singing songs which the authorities have deemed illegal. This is the most this is the biggest case in our country's history of infringement of free speech. Basically, so, and then, you know, I often say to Andrew Doyle that racism doesn't exist. I hate the word racism, and I hate the word racist, yeah, because it's basically destabilised our society. You know, our whole society is walking on eggshells, and has resulted in things like the Rotherham grooming scandal, and also the London knife crime is a result of this word being enforced onto our way of life. So let me reiterate, I do not agree with bullying, right? And I've never said people don't get bullied because of the colour of their skin. What I'm saying is that I don't believe in this multi-race concept, which has basically been proved to be incorrect. People who know me well know I never used the words racial, racist, racism, racial slur with, you know, I never used the word race with any validity. I also don't use the word human race, which that is one of the options if you want to use that sort of language. And I prefer to use the term human species, and we are, you know, we are different breeds, you know, but genetically we are all related, which has been proven recently. Um, so as I said before, I copied in Andrew with this Alison Chabloz tweet. You know, Alison Chabloz is the worst case in history of the persecution of free speech. You know, you're always complaining, Andrew, about people being cancelled, and she's been put in jail 3 times. You should be doing a whole show on Alison Chabloz, but you wouldn't do that because you haven't got any integrity. You don't really believe in free speech. That you make out you're some sort of free speech warrior, and there is a woman literally in prison as we speak for something she said. You know, just a satirical song. You know, she's an entertainer. She's a comedian. She used to be an entertainer on cruise ships. Mark Doyle, exactly what you used to do. You know, what she said, people might have found very distasteful, very upsetting or whatever, but it is free speech. So, so in the middle of this debate I was having with Andrew Doyle on Twitter, I said to him, there's no such thing as racism, because in his Free Speech Nation show on GB News, he continually says, you know, that you know, they'll have an example every week of so-called racism, so-called sexism, so-called transphobic, so-called anti-Semitic, and every single example you have a look at the background, you say, but that wasn't racist, was it? But that wasn't transphobic, was it? But that wasn't homophobic, was it? That wasn't anti-Semitism. You know, so every single incident of free speech you're looking at, you always say that at the end. So you're reinforcing the anti-free speech laws, which is anti-free speech. So your Free Speech Nation should be called Anti-Free Speech Nation, because you keep using these terms. What are anti-free speech? They are thought crimes. But let me now explain what I think about the word racist. Yeah, I say that it's impossible for anybody to be racist. Racism is impossible, and I'm going to explain to you now. I was trying to explain this to Andrew Doyle in this debate on Twitter, and he kept saying to me, I don't understand what you're saying, what are you going on about? It's quite simple, Andrew. Somebody watched the whole debate and he said to me, he knew exactly what I was saying, and now I'll explain it again for you. So we're going to have example A, example B. Example A would mean you believe in the human race, yeah? And what that means is that every human on the planet is genetically related, biologically related. Example B would mean you believe in a multi-race concept. So, for example, for argument's sake, let's just say 5 races. Example B, you would believe there was 5 races on planet Earth. They all started at different locations on the planet, and they are not biologically related. So therefore, they are not related. So I was trying to explain to you, Andrew, which one do you believe in? Because you can't believe in both. You either believe in example A or example B. You cannot have a race within a race. It doesn't add up. It contradicts itself. So if someone's saying, oh, I just believe in the human race, well, I don't use that term, anymore. I think it's misleading and very unhelpful, this word race. I tend to use human species, and we're different breeds, we're different DNA, we're different haplogroups. You can describe us as Europeans, Africans, Asians, right? But because we are biologically related, which has been proven in 2013, you cannot have racism, because this is false. It is not correct that there is different races, which means they are not biologically related. So I said to Andrew, you know, in this debate on Twitter, that racism is impossible, there's no such thing, which he replied, oh, that's absurd. Absurd to say that there's no such thing as racism. And you know, he kept saying, what are you going on about? Like, very arrogant. And like I said, somebody was observing the whole debate, and he said he couldn't believe he was saying that, because it's very simple what I'm explaining. So example A, human race, different ethnicities but all biologically related. Example B, 5 races, all started at different locations, and it must have been different times as well on the planet. Not biologically related. They're completely separate when they first started life form. Yeah. So yeah, and Andrew Doyle said to me, yeah, but we have got racial differences, right? That was after he said he believes that there's one human race. And I said, well, what are you talking about? You're contradicting yourself. Racial differences means there's different races which are not related. What the correct term would be is we have genetic differences, yeah? Obviously, Africans, Europeans look, they look different. Genetic differences. We are different, but we're not completely different. Yeah, and also within the debate, Andrew, like when I was talking about Alison Chabloz and the travesty of justice against her infringement on her rights, literally been put in prison for speaking her mind and having an opinion. Andrew Doyle, he felt like he had to say, I abhor anti-Semitism, I abhor. Oh God. You know, you might as well call your programme Anti-Free Speech Nation, Andrew. Because all of these politically correct words, anti-Semitism, racism, homophobia, transphobia, sexism, misogonism, which you continually use in your show all the time, they are thought crimes. They are backed up by law courts to put people in prison, which has just happened to Alison Chabloz. But we'll go back. We're going to look at anti-Semitism a little bit later on, because it's very sneaky what they've done with that particular word, right? I use the term anti-white all the time, Chris Donald was murdered by a group of Pakistani British citizens, and they hunted him down specifically because of the colour of his skin. I call that an anti-white attack, an anti-white murder. I don't use the term racism or it's a racist murder, right? And if it was the other way round, a load of whites doing it to Pakistanis, I would call that an anti-Asian murder, anti-black murder even. But things like in the government at the moment, they've got laws, or they've allowed quite a lot of institutions to discriminate against white people in the workplace, applying for jobs, etc. And this is an anti-white agenda. That's what I call it. I don't call it racism. I don't use these terms, racist, racism, because I don't believe it actually exists. So back to the race thing. I mean, it's just a massive debate. The whole thing, like, you have it on your headliner show every single week. Oh, what's racist? That's not racist. Yes, it is. No, it isn't. You know, some people say there's 3 races, 3 to 60 races. Some people say 5, some people say 7. You've got the human race, you've got the Irish race, English race, British race. And it's very misleading. It's not accurate. and it's destabilised our society, and along with immigration. So my personal opinion why this term came about was many years ago, scientists, biologists, whatever, only was aware of certain groups of humans in Europe, maybe a little bit of Asia, and there's some parts of the world they had never seen these people before. So when the European settlers went to Africa or South America, they came across these, Australia, they came across these people, but they'd already assigned the word race to humans. They'd already done that. So when they came across these new people, they actually thought they were a different race, not biologically related, and they used this term, another race. And in my opinion, that is why the slave owners would use this with their people to work for them, because in order to treat another human being the way they did, you know, it's not easy for people to do that, because slavery is not a very nice thing. So the slave owners, the slave sellers, traders would say to them, look, these people are not, they're not biologically related to us. You don't have to feel anything for them. And that is how they managed to get people to treat them the way they did. And that's my theory on why this word race came into it, yeah? So the original meaning of it means completely separate, not biologically related, and they're not our cousins, etc. But as I will explain now, this was all proven wrong in 2013, you had two professors, Graham Coop and Peter Ralph. In 2013, they basically done a DNA test of the whole planet, of every human on the planet, and they proved it was in a California university, USC Davis, California. Graham Coop and Peter Ralph proved that practically every single human on the planet are genetically related, which proves that the multi-race concept is not correct, in my opinion. Now, people will still believe in this multi-race concept. I don't have a problem with that. That's fine. There's a lot of nationalists who believe in that, and I don't think they should be demonised for believing that. However, when people go around calling people racist and demonise the white population of this country, I've got a problem with that, because I feel it's not correct and it needs to be pointed out. So this term racism is just a massive conspiracy theory. You're basically accusing someone of believing in a multi-race concept. You haven't even spoke to them. They haven't even told you what they actually believe. So you're pushing this agenda yourself, whoever's going around calling people racist all the time. Before 2013, that theory, the multi-race concept, could not even really be proven. It couldn't be proven one way or the other. It's not clear-cut. And it managed to get into our law systems. Laws were passed, these racial discrimination, and it can't even be proven that there were separate races were not biologically related. So so basically the white population have more or less been convicted of all this. Without even speaking to them, it was just put on the whole population. You lot believe in the multi-race concept, and it's in our law, and that's our our society's going to be. And then in 2013, it's been proven that that is not correct. And for me, race, different races, means multi-race concept. They all started in different locations at different time, which means they are biologically not related. That's what it means to me, and I don't agree with that. I agree with what these these professors have said, Graham Coop and Peter Ralph. Yeah, so not only that, the people keep using the word race, the white race, racial this, racial that. It's out of date. This language is out of date. It's not for everyday life, and it is not helping us. It's not helping anyone. All of our institutions have been found guilty of racism, which has just been proven in 2013 doesn't even exist. This is the biggest conspiracy theory ever known to mankind. You know, our police, the army, education system has been proven guilty without even having a court case about it. This is what they've done. And yeah, using language like racial, race, racist, it's a weakness using this language, because it's, for one, before 2013 it couldn't be proven, and two, after 2000 it has been proven that it's false. And every time it comes up, it's a big debate. Everyone's got different opinions on it. I've just told you what my opinion is on it. Racism does not exist. It's impossible. Bullying exists, which I'm against, yeah? But people are bullying people with the word racist, which I'm against. And the ironic thing about it is the state are using this conspiracy theory against the white population. So basically, if you say something like what I'm saying, that racism don't exist, you know what I mean? It's just a belief. That's all it is you believe that certain races are not biologically related. It's a belief. And if you say, well, actually, there's no such thing as racism, what I'm saying, you're going to be persecuted. And people like Andrew Doyle, you know what I mean? He said to me, oh, that's absurd. So it's like in the Middle Ages when people believe in witches and there's a witch hunt. And this is exactly what has happened. It's all about a belief of a certain concept. So this whole theory, which is incorrect and is void in my opinion, it's been taken over by the anti-white establishment, and they're using it against white people. And I know there's going to be nationalists thinking, oh, he's talking about a load of rubbish. Look, if you want to believe in that, or the multi-race, the white race, whatever you want to call it, that's fine. I don't think it should be demonised for it, right? But I don't think it's correct, and I don't think it's helping us at all. You know, I just replaced that word with ethnicity. The word ethnicity does not imply anything dramatic. The term race is very it's such a powerful word because it means so much, how I've just explained. It means that there's a lot of people who are not biologically related, and that is why it's got such powerful connotations with it. That's why calling someone that word is so effective and so damaging and so powerful, because of what I've just explained. So that's what I mean, Andrew Doyle, when I say there's no such thing as racism. I don't believe in the multi-race concept, which you do, and this is what I was trying to explain to you in the debate on Twitter, that you're the one who's dividing humanity into groups, and it was quite frustrating that you kept telling me, what am I talking about all the time? And I've never swore at you, I never abused you, I've never abused anyone on Twitter. I have a debate, I never swear, and fair enough, I have blocked people before myself, but I don't think that it was justified for you to block me. What you blocked me, basically. And but I kind of think that you didn't really understand what I was trying to say, and I don't know why that is, but I'll make a deal with you. I'm going to unblock you, because I did block you straight after. Why should you look at my tweets? I'll unblock you, and I'll see if you unblock me. Why don't you have me on your show? You keep inviting all these trans activists on your show, and you won't have like people like me on your show. Have me on the show to talk about this. I'm telling you, there's no such thing as racism. It's all a myth. It's an unproven theory which has been actually proven wrong. So, Free Speech Nation, like I said before, your Free Speech Nation should be called Anti-Free Speech Nation. Right, so the main words we're talking about is racism, homophobia, transphobia, sexism, misogonism, Islamophobia, anti-semitism. Now, this word anti-Semitism is a sneaky and crafty one. Like I said before, I use the term anti-white. It's a direct thing to say. It's a doing action. It's not a belief. You're describing someone's actions, what they've done in the past. And that's why it's more effective than using this term racism, which is just, it opens up a massive can of worms. When people are calling someone a racist, they're basically accusing them three things at once. First, they're accusing you of believing in a multi-race concept where the races are not biologically related. Secondly, they're saying that you think you're superior to those other races. And thirdly, that you've done something hostile to these other so-called races, what you think exist. So, like I said, the word racism is so powerful because it's about human beings not being biologically related to each other, and that's why it's so powerful. Anti-Semitism is linked to the word Semite, which is also flesh and blood. Now, the majority of Semites are not Jewish. Ethiopian people, Eritrean people, Arabs, the whole of the Arab world are Semites. Ashkenazi Jews are not Semites. Sephardic Jews are not Semites. So I would say about 95% of the world Jewish population are not even Semites. And you're continually using this term, anti-Semitism, anti-Semitic, all the time on your show, and it's not true. Arabs, Andrew Doyle, Arabs are Semites. Ashkenazi Jews are going to Israel, and they're more or less forcing Arab Palestinians off their own land, which they've been there for thousands of years. These Arabs are Semites. The Ashkenazi Jews are not Semites. And because the Arabs are retaliating against this, they are labelled with this term anti-Semitism, which is a complete false statement. If anything, the Ashkenazi Jews are the ones being anti-Semitic, because the Ashkenazi Jews are not Semitic, nor are the Sephardic. 90 to 95% of the Israel population, of the Jewish Israel population, are not Semites. They're Ashkenazis, Sephardic, and there's a very tiny percentage who are actually Semites, who are Jewish. There's Arab Semites in Israel. Well, I went to Israel once, and I couldn't believe it, that some of the Jews were so dark, they were so dark like Palestinians. And that's when I learned that they are Semitic people, like Ethiopians, Arabs, Eritreans. So, like the indigenous population of Northeast Africa and the Middle East. Whole of the Arab world are Semitic. So that word there, anti-Semitism, is completely false. It's fake news, and you keep using it on your free speech nation, and it's anti-free speech, that word, because you're accusing someone of a thought crime. Same with racism, same with homophobia, transphobia, sexism, misogonism. So misogonism, you could be in the 1920s, Victorian England, and they would say that's a misogynistic society. This is just another politically correct word to demonise people. It's a thought crime. And going back to the anti-Semitism, you know, you can't accuse anyone of that, because I'll give it a little bit of validity, because I do use the word anti-white. So anti-Semitic would mean you're hostile to Semitic people, yeah? But you'd have to do a DNA test on all these so-called anti-Semitic attacks in the West. I guarantee you all of the people on the receiving end of this alleged anti-Semitism would not even be Semites. So this is fake news, mate, and it's just ridiculous that you know. Islamophobia, this word, Christians think that Muhammad is a false prophet. It's an opinion. If you're a Muslim, it's an idea. Christianity, real Christianity, does not recognise that. You know, Muhammad is a false prophet. So, in a proper Christian society, Islamophobe, this word is void. It's completely and utterly impossible. And it's a feeling and an opinion, and this is why they put the word Semitic in the Jewish one. They put anti-Semitism because they knew, at some point they realised, we can't just say anti-Jewish because that's an idea, an opinion, or a religion. And that's why, in my opinion, somewhere along the line they've realised, and they've thought, right, we better make it a proper flesh and blood ethnicity word. And as we all know, sexism, that's another one. Just goes back to Christianity, marriage. Some people might believe that women should be having kids and staying at home, and all these words leads back to Christianity. Like, even if you do believe in this multiracial concept, Adam and Eve says that that's not true, because Christianity says humanity came from Adam and Eve. So everyone is biologically related. Homophobia. This is just about marriage again. No sex before marriage. Two men can't get married. And if you believe that, you're labelled with that. Another thought crime. Yeah, so transphobia. Calvin Robinson famously said on GB News, trans is impossible. You are either a woman pretending to be a man, or a man pretending to be a woman. This term trans is impossible. And you've got so many presenters on GB News who are complaining that there's men taking part in female sports events, there's men being sent to women's prisons, and all this toilet stuff. And they keep saying, Dan Wootton, Mark Dolan, oh, we're all for trans rights, we're all for trans rights. Trans rights means that they want to take part in female sporting events if they're men, and they've so-called I won't use the word, they're pretending to be a woman. So it's just laughable, really, that GB News is supposed to be fighting for free speech, but every single presenter on there keeps going back to these 7 words: racism, homophobia, transphobia, sexism, misogonism, Islamophobia, anti-semitism. That wasn't anti-Semitic, was it? No, but if it was, we must persecute them. That wasn't sexism. Oh yes, no it wasn't, but if it was, we must persecute them. For all of them: racism, homophobia, transphobia, sexism, misogynism, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism. You know, and people start saying, oh, Anglophobia. No, we don't want more of these bloody things, these anti-free speech terms. What are thought crimes? If people want to hate English people, they should be allowed to. If we want to hate people, we should be allowed to hate whoever we like. As long as you don't step over the mark, which we had laws to deal with. We had laws to deal with every situation. And also, you know, you're not allowed to hate Peter Sutcliffe. You're not allowed to hate Rose West. Is that a hate crime? So the state are telling us who we're allowed to hate and who we're not allowed to hate. And a hate crime is impossible anyway, because when they're convicting you of it or persecuting you for it, this hate crime, whatever 7 of those ones I just mentioned, they make out that you hate every single person of that group, every single one. It's impossible, because you cannot go and meet every single person in, say, Asia. It would be impossible to hate every single person because you haven't met them all. You haven't heard them all speak. So GB News Free Speech Nation, they're trying to go back to the, they're trying to go back to the 60s and 70s. But that's where the foundations were set, with all the race discrimination laws and all these laws what were brought in, and this is where we've ended up because of those laws what have been brought in. We've ended up with a society treading on eggshells. But the most interesting one of recent times is when they said about the babies. They said, oh, the babies are racist. So as I explained before, the teachers who are accusing those babies of saying white babies are racist, they're basically saying that those babies believe in a multi-race concept who are not biologically related, and that's just impossible. So what it is those teachers are pushing that theory. They're the ones going around pushing it, enforcing it, because that's what they believe in their heads. And this is what happened. This is what has happened. Our whole society is, they're accusing people. You know, Andrew Doyle said, "Oh, the Chinese are racist because of what they're doing to the Uyghurs," or whatever it was. How do you know what they're thinking, Andrew? Have you spoke to the Chinese cabinet on their views on multi-race concepts? So you, Andrew, are pushing the agenda like the teachers are with the baby. I don't know if you lot are going to get anything from this video, but I felt I had to do this video because Andrew Doyle blocked me, and this is what I was trying to explain to him. I don't believe that racism exists. It's void. It's impossible because of how I've just explained it. But everyone's been brainwashed so much into using these words. And as I say again, I never use these words: racist, racism, racial, white race. I don't even use the human race term. Human species, different breeds, different haplogroups, Europeans, Africans, Asians, genetic differences. Yeah? We are never going to have free speech in our society if we continue to use these thought crimes. Those 7 thought crimes, I've said, you know, like I said already, you might as well call your programme Anti-Free Speech Nation if you carry on using those 7 thought crimes I've repeatedly said. You are enforcing anti-free speech, using them all the time. Every case you examine, that wasn't racist, that wasn't anti-Semitism, oh, that wasn't homophobia. It's just a joke, mate. I just can't believe what you're doing. And you're obviously an intelligent bloke, so what? Well, you're probably getting paid quite a lot of money, aren't you? Because I should imagine if you said what I've said, you'd get sacked straight away. Because GB News is part of the mainstream media. That's the reality. They're trying to go back to the 70s and 80s, the way it was then. And it ain't going to work. We're not going to get a free speech society doing that. You know, Andrew Doyle's trying to preserve. He's trying to preserve the ground where cancel culture came from in the 70s and the 80s. And I'll give him some credit, Andrew Doyle. You've said that if you got attacked because someone took offence to you being gay, you wouldn't want them convicted of a hate crime, which I completely agree with you. They should be convicted of the violence they committed onto you, not what they're thinking in their head. But you say that, so presumably you think that all these racial incitement laws, racially aggravated laws should be removed, yeah? Presumably that's what you're saying. But then you're using the thought crime words all the time. That is where these laws came from. These words: racism, anti-Semitism, homophobia, transphobia. So I'm sorry to say it, Andrew, but you are the thought crime policeman, and you're enforcing the thought crimes on society because you're repeatedly validating that there is racism, there is transphobia, there is sexism, there is misogonism, there is Islamophobia. And unblock me, have some integrity, and I wish you all the best. And you stop using these thought crime words and listen to what I'm saying to you. Have a nice day.